Welcome back. Let's stitch some more flowers, shall we? All right, so we're gonna work on our flowers over here. What should we do first? I think let's start with our smaller pots and then we'll work our way up. All right, so I'm gonna start with my darkest green, which is $8.95. Oh, I'm hoping I don't yawn too much. I'm tired today. If you're doing the blue house, the darkest green is $9.04. So let's start there. All right, we are gonna do a stem stitch. We haven't done that yet, so let's talk about it. We're gonna do this pot first over on the left side. Okay, so we're gonna do a few looped stitches. Looped? That's not the right word. Curved. Okay. So I am going to start down here and work my way up. Now, same thing as I've been saying is splitting that stitch when we're coming up or down in a satin stitch. Just making sure we're not snagging threads. Oh, I forgot to tie a knot. I'm using 2 strands. I think you could probably get away with 3, but I feel like 2's kind of been what we've been doing, so I'm gonna stick with it for now. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do smaller stitches so that we can get a nice curved line. So we're gonna go up and down, but don't pull this tight yet. We're gonna leave our loop open. With stem stitch, we're gonna do it a few different times today. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna keep our loop to the outer edge of our curve. So we're gonna curve up and over this way. So we want our loop to be on the outer edge. If we were doing a curve that went this way, then the loop would be on the other side. So you want your loop on the outside of the curve, okay? So once that's open, we're gonna come up in the middle of that stitch like we were doing with our the attached chain stitches, but we're gonna stay on this line. Okay, so we're gonna come up inside of that and then we're gonna pull towards where we came up and just tighten that stitch down, okay? So now our next stitch is gonna be the same length from where we came up to where we went down. We want that same from the middle to our next stitch. So our stitches are gonna be the same length. We're just gonna cut them in half each time to do that stitch in the middle. So now when we come up, we can share a hole with that first time we went down. That's not quite in the same spot, but there we go. So we're always going down in a new spot, but up in the center. Does that make sense? So we want that to stay connected. That's why we're using this same hole here. And then the smaller the stitches, the better your curve will look. I'm doing a little bit bigger stitches. And then if you pull this back, it'll help your stitch lay a little bit smoother, a little bit more flat, versus if you pull it another way. I don't know why it does that. I don't know why it makes sense. But like if I pull it up, I feel like it's a little harder to pull through, but I feel like it also doesn't look quite as nice. I don't know. If you find that easier, then of course do it. But in my experience, it looks a little better if I pull it towards where I came up versus where I went down. Stem stitch is great for curved lines because you can get a nice curved line with all those like extra stitches in the middle. I think I pulled some of my tail up. Okay, and then we're going to do the same as what we've been doing, and we're going to kind of go under that orange stitch or brown or whatever color your pot is, and tack that down. So now I'm just gonna do a couple stitches in this and then we'll move on. If you're doing a straight stitch, you can have your loop on whatever side you want. Just keep it the same side every time. So this one's gonna be straight. So I'm just gonna keep it on the left side because I am right-handed, so it makes it easier to hold it with my left side while I'm stitching with my right. So this stitch will make your stitches look a little bit like twisted. Gives them just a little bit of texture. If you don't like this stitch, you could also do a whipped back stitch. This is all twisted up on itself, hold on. It's like stuck to itself. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there and move on. But just go ahead and fill in however many more leaves you want to do for that one. Okay, so let me tie that off. We're gonna do stem stitch some more, so I don't want to complete this and then talk about stem stitch more. Where are my scissors? Okay. Okay, let's do this little pot next. This is gonna be our lavender. So I am going to use the lighter purple, which is 553. On the blue house, it's 552. And I'm gonna stick with my 2 strands. I'm gonna do the purple first and then I'll do the green after. Normally I would do green first, but the lavender really takes up the majority of it. So I think you could even do 1 strand, but I'm gonna do 2. I might change my mind once I get stitching. Okay, so we're gonna do a fly stitch. I'm going to show you 2 different ways, a fly stitch and a fern stitch. I personally like a fly stitch, but I haven't done a fly stitch this small in a long time, so we'll see if I still like it. Okay, so where's my pen? right here. We're gonna do this with like the little V's on it, right? So these are itty bitty stitches. Don't start stitching yet. I might decide I need one strand. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna come up at the top and go down to where our V meets. And then I'm gonna come up and create that V. So I'm gonna come up at the top of the V. I'm gonna go down at the top of the other side of the V. We're gonna keep that loop open. We're gonna come up at the bottom of the V in that same hole from our first stitch. And then we're gonna pull it snug. Now you can pull it pretty tight because we want to create a V, not a U. So kind of pull it so it's snug. And then when we go down, we're going to go down at the bottom of the next V. Now 2 strands is working, but you could definitely use 1 if you wanted to. So I'm going to leave that decision making up to you. Okay, so then we've already done this first stitch right here when we tacked down our V. Okay, so we've already got this. So now we're going to come back up on the right side of our V. And then we'll go down on our left side. Keep that loop open, come up at the bottom. And then I'm going to go down inside that pot. You could probably get away with doing 3, but I'm just going to leave it at 2 for now and do some of these other ones with 3. If you're using 2 strands, it's just, you won't be able to fit as many sprigs of lavender as if you were using 1, you could probably fit a little bit more if that wants to change your mind. Oh, I was going to show you a fern stitch. Hold on. So a fly stitch is when you do the V all in one stitch. But a fern stitch would just be, you do the middle, the right, the left. So then you just go down in the middle and then come over here and do the other side. It looks nearly the same, but it takes slightly longer because you're doing more stitches. So I personally like the way that a fly stitch looks better, but it doesn't matter. It gets the same look. There's somebody parked out in front of my house. So that's a fern stitch. Middle, right, left, middle, right, left. Okay, I'm gonna do one more over on the right side. And then we'll do some greenery in here. Except I'm gonna do a fly stitch because I like it more. And it doesn't matter, you can come up on the left and down on the right. I just realized I had told you right then left, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so there's our cute little lavenders. You can make that bigger if you want or add more. I think the pattern has way more Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, stitching is a little different than drawing. I'm sorry. All right, I'm gonna tie that off real quick. All right, so I'm gonna come in with my 505. If you're doing the blue house, the 3052, or sorry, or just whatever green you feel like. We're just gonna come in with some straight stitches and just fill that in just a little bit. Mine is all wrapped up, hold on. Sorry, just getting a knot. Okay, so I'm just gonna come in and do a few little green straight stitches just around the bottom. I'm just gonna come in on top of the purple and on the sides of the purple and just do a few random stitches in there. Gonna do a couple up in here as well, but I'm gonna kind of just hide them back behind the purple. I don't really want them to like take over. I kind of just want them behind. There we go. There's our lavender. Tie that off real quick. All right. What is next? Okay, so we've got a little planter here that's brown in the pattern, but I stitched it gray. We're just gonna do some lazy daisies. So I'm gonna use yellow, which is 725. If you have the blue one, they are pink, so 225 and 961. So you could do the same thing with this brown house. You could do white if you wanted. You could do like some daisies. Whatever you want to do. So I do find that it's easier to stitch these with a guide. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a few flowers on here. I'm not going to draw them in too much detail. I just want to know where those are going to go. I'm just not great at random. I do better with a guide for these ones. 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna do one with just 3. Okay. I'm gonna stick with my 2 strands. Okay, now a lot of people call detached chain stitches lazy daisy stitches. Yes, They are detached chain stitches is what we're gonna do. But because of the shape that we're doing them in, that's what makes them a lazy daisy, because we are creating a daisy from detached chain stitches. So what we're gonna do is come up in the middle and do 5 detached chain stitches in a little circle. Now, the problem with these is that we're gonna come up and down in this center where our knot is, so just be careful. Okay, so a detached chain stitch, we're going up and down in the same hole. We're coming up where we want that loop to end. We're gonna link this over the top, and then we're gonna pull that so it's snug without being too tight, because we want to keep that looped petal. Okay, then we're gonna tack it down on the other side of that loop. And then I like to think about what flower I'm gonna do next. So am I gonna come down here or up here? So if I'm gonna come up to this flower after this one, then I'll do this one last, because then I'm really close to this one. But if I'm gonna do this one next, then I'll do this petal last so that I can like move right over here. I don't know. I overthink it a little bit probably, but I'm gonna move up instead of down. So I'm gonna move counterclockwise and do this petal next. Now we're gonna do a French knot in the middle. So I like to put my lazy daisy stitches all really close to one another, but I don't usually have them share the exact same hole, only because I want to create just a little bit of space to put in a French knot. So I'm getting like really close. I mean, you can see like how close that is to each other, but without sharing the same hole, just because I want to be able to put that French knot in there without any issues. Okay. Now, depending on what color you're doing your flower, if you're going to do it all yellow with a yellow center, then you're going to want to do your French knot and then move on to the next flower. Ouch. But I think I'm going to come back and do a white center. So I'm just going to go ahead and move on to this next flower. I'm just going to do one more, and then I'll come back and do a French knot center. But if you're going to do like yellow with a yellow center, for instance, then just do your French knot before moving on. There's no reason to trail thread everywhere to go back and do your French knots. Okay, 2 more. All right. Okay, so let me just move this thread out of the way for a minute and grab some white. Now you could do like a big giant center. You could do 3 or 4 strands if you wanted. I want it to just be pretty delicate, similar to my petals. So I'm gonna keep with the 2 strands. I'm gonna come back and do a white center. So let me just thread my needle real quick. Okay. So I'm just gonna come up right in the middle and I'm gonna do twist it wrap it 2 times and then bring that down and kind of look, is that the size that I want? Do I want to make it slightly bigger and do 3? That's a little bit bigger than what I want. So I'm gonna go with 2. So cute. All right, 1 more over here, and then we'll move on to our next flower. Yep, I like that. All right. I'm gonna let these be. I'll come back and finish them, but let's move on to our tall basketed flower. Okay, I'm just gonna, hold on. I've got too many needles with thread on them right now. Okay, so we are gonna do our brighter green. I'm gonna do 905. Oh, I forgot. I forgot about the stems. I like to come in when I'm doing lazy daisies and do the stem after. I don't want to put in 2 stems. All right, hold on. Now, you can put in some leaves with these as well, but I was imagining a lot of flowers and then just a little bit of greenery peeking out around it. So I'm planning to only do some stems in with these and no leaves. But if you want to do leaves, you could do more of the detached chain stitches for leaves, or you could just do some straight stitches. Whatever, if you want some more green, go ahead and fill in some more if you want. So I'm just gonna come and just do like right from the center. So I'm kind of under those detached chain stitches and then just go down into it. So it's not gonna be, it's not gonna be anything fancy. So that's it. And then I'll just have all those flowers around. So super simple. I don't want these in here yet. Okay. Hold on, I gotta let my cat in. I think the cat door must be locked because he's sitting at the front door. Hold on 1 second. Okay. All right. So this big tall one. Let's talk about it. Okay, so I've got 2 stems stems coming up. Got one there. Got one here. Okay, and then we've got some leaves. So normally with round circles, I would do woven wagon wheels, but that would be really hard over our brown. So like over our outline. So I'm not going to do that today. So if you thought that's what was coming, you are wrong. Okay, I'm going to use the 905. Oh, this one I used the lightest, the 703. So I'm going to use 905 for this one. We're gonna do the stems first and then we'll do the flowers. I'm not gonna mix it up and I'm just gonna stick with my 2 strands. I'll use more for the leaves, but for the stems, I'm gonna use just 2 strands. Okay, so we're gonna practice our stem stitch a little bit more. Okay, or if you're not liking that, then go ahead and do a whipped back stitch or something instead. We did the whipped back stitch on the lettering, so. Where it's a straight line, pick which side you want your loop on. These can be bigger stitches since they're pretty straight lines. So I'm gonna do kind of a bigger chunk and then just come up right in the middle, pull backwards, work my way up. You really could get away with using 3 strands for this if you wanted thicker stems. I'm just gonna work my way all the way to the top. These are not very even, but I'm not too super worried about it when it's a straight line. So it's nothing fancy, but it does give it just a little bit of pop. Okay, so where it splits, I'm gonna stop at that V and I'm gonna do 1 stitch. I'm gonna come to the top, I'm gonna come down in the bottom, and then I'm gonna come up in the middle, and then go down in that V. Oh my gosh. My cat is back. Hold on. Driving me crazy. All right. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. I'm gonna come up at the end, down at the V, up in the middle, and then down at the V. And I'm gonna do the same over here, except I'm gonna do more than 2 stitches. I don't know why I'm keeping my loop on the other side this time. Just felt right, I guess, but just keep it on whatever side you start with, and it really doesn't matter when you're doing a straight line. Okay, so we're gonna come down here and do this next one. Actually, I'm not. What time is it? It's 1:35 already. Okay. I'm just gonna do this one side, and I will let you do the other on your own. Okay, cut that off. I'm gonna use 4 strands for our leaves. So I've already got 2 in my needle. I'm just gonna fold them over and tie the 2 ends together, so that will give me 4 strands to work with versus the 2, and then I don't have to re-thread my needle. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is start at the top of my leaf in that point, and we're gonna do almost satin stitch, but not quite. We're gonna go all the way down to the bottom of our basket. Kind of smooth that out a little bit. Now, remember in our tulips and we came up and over just a little bit to create that? That's what we're gonna do here, but just on a larger scale. So I'm gonna come just right next to it. Let me zoom in a little bit more for you. So we're gonna come up and over just a little. It's like almost underneath. And I'm gonna come down right next to this hole. So I'm not going in the same hole. It's like just like barely next to it, because I want to keep that bottom section still small, but I do want it to take up the whole bottom of the basket. So I'm creating kind of a flatter section there. Some of them will do into the middle. Okay, so I'm gonna go parallel with this one next to it. I could move down. You could do that if you wanted as well. Yeah, maybe I like that better. And I'm gonna do the same thing, and I'm gonna come down right next to that center. And then we're gonna do that again. And again. That one I did go back into the center. Okay. So I have a cute little leaf. So I'm gonna do that for all of them. I don't have enough thread to do all of them, but I'm just gonna finish off this thread really quick. So down to that center. And then I like to go every other side and just work my way down to the bottom there. Okay. So we're gonna do that for all the different leaves and try and fill up all of this inside the basket. Now, if there's a few little gaps, it's gonna be fine, because there will be like this little one right here, or probably a little one right here, but if you bring that all the way down and kind of put in just like a few across, you'll fill in that whole basket. All right, should we do our flowers? Yes. We're gonna do stem stitched flowers. Let me just get colors So the brown houses or buildings, whatever, I'm gonna use the 893. The blue houses, I don't remember. They are the darker pink, so 961. Okay, let's go with the 893. And then we will call it a day. Now you could do a stem stitch with 2 or 3 strands. Well, let's do 3. I'm gonna do 3 strands. You could use more. I was originally thinking 6, but I think that'll be too much for these little circles. If you have a bigger circle, I would use more strands, but because these circles are so small, I want to use a little bit less. So I'm gonna get these as circular as I can. Now, if you know how to do woven wagon wheels, you could do that instead, but we're just gonna change it up today and do stem stitch roses. We're on a stem stitch kick today. All right, so what we're gonna do is I like to start where the stem is and work my way around. So I'm gonna come up at the stem. I'm gonna keep my loop on the outer edge of my circle. I'm gonna make smaller stitches. I'm gonna come up in the middle and I'm just gonna work my way all the way around that circle with the same thing. Now, if your stitches, if you do them too big, they'll start to kind of fall in on itself. So really, like, smaller stitches are better for this. And I pull these pretty snug. I don't let them be very loose at all. Okay, so now our loop, it's gonna feel like it's on the wrong side, but we're keeping that loop on the outer edge of our circle. So now that we're on this side, the loop is gonna be still on the outside of the circle. So don't think you need to keep it on the left side. You're keeping it on the outer edge of the circle, okay? All right, now once we get here, we're gonna start working on the in. We're just gonna keep going around. So we're gonna create a swirl. So now we're gonna go, our next stitch is gonna be on the inside of that circle we just made, and we're just gonna keep working our way around. You don't have to get them too close together, especially if you're doing this like with a bigger circle, because those stitches are a little bit thicker than you think. So like, there's still a little bit of a gap between my 2 stitches, like my 2 layers, because it'll fill it in a little. Love this color. Yes, this is a fun, bright spring color. I don't use it very often. When I pulled it out, when I was picking colors and I was looking for a pink, I was like, you know what? I don't use like bright pink very often. We're doing it. Okay, so we're coming back onto the right side again. So always keep your, pulled my tail. Always keep your loop on the outer edge of your circle. Okay, and then here we go for our third time around our circle. And we just keep getting a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller. We are getting real close. Okay, now I'm close enough that I don't want to do any more stitches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up in the very middle. Now you could just go back down, tack down your last stitch and call it done. It would be really cute like that. Here, I'll do it and I'll show you. You could do that and be done. Or you could come in and do a little French knot. I would probably just wrap it once. But it'll just give it a little bit more of a defined center. That doesn't look too different than it did before, but you can just tack it down or do a little French knot. How fun is that? A little spiral flower. I like it. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. These smaller ones, you're only gonna go around like 2 times. These bigger ones will probably be the same, that three-ish times. So anyways, I'm gonna let you go with that and I will see how much of this I can get done this afternoon. And then tomorrow we will do our last little flower here. And I think we're gonna do the flower and the cat. And then we'll just have to come back next week and do another day and do our books. So I'm sorry, I didn't plan as well as I thought I did. So we need another day. Okay, so go ahead and finish those flowers and then I will see you back here tomorrow to work on our last flowers. And yeah, have a great afternoon. See ya.